All right, we got a special episode today, something I'm super, super excited about. I've got the 7th District delegate candidate in Christiansburg, Marie March, here with us. Episode 4 of Finding Your Place. We're going to go all over the map. We're going to talk about a lot of different things here. I feel like me and Marie are kind of cut from the same cloth. I feel like we believe in some of the same things. We see the world in kind of a similar fashion. Mm-hmm. And I am so excited for you to be here right now. Thank you.
I'm excited that I'm here. This is cool. I mean, this studio, I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I've watched Joe Rogan. I thought for a minute, but it's a lot different, but it's really cool. I love it.
I mean, we ripped off what we liked of that.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is top notch. I mean, people need to really come check out this studio. You need to bring in every business owner. They're going to be so impressed.
Well, I'm excited because that's something that we'll get into. I know that's something that you're kind of bringing groups of businesses together. And and I'm excited for like every little bit of everything that you're doing that I think I can be of value to. We
think along the same lines. We know that we've got to help the business community, the small businesses, entrepreneurs. Yeah. We've got to, we can really bring a grassroots effort to get people back to being entrepreneurs instead of, everybody going to work for a corporation.
Yeah. And my heart belongs to the New River Valley.
Yep.
My heart, I went off and thought the grass was going to be greener, and I got there and I got lonely, and I missed my mom, and I missed the people that I loved and the people I grew up with. And the reason why I am who I am is I wanted to come back here and find opportunities to do just that. And your story maps the same way. I mean, look at I want you to talk about maybe.
Well, I'm Appalachian. Yeah. So, I was raised in Kingsport, Tennessee, over in East Tennessee, but my grandfather's family was from Lee County, Virginia. Yeah. So they had a 1,000-acre Burley tobacco farm that we would travel from Kingsport over to the farm, and our family cemetery is still on that farm. So they grew Burley tobacco. They had cattle. My great-grandfather was the postmaster over in Lee County, and, they were just country people. They, killed hogs, killed chickens. We always had farm animals over there. But my grandfather actually left Lee County. He became a surgeon. So he went to UVA, became a surgeon, ended up doing his fellowship up at the Mayo Clinic. And he came back. He wanted to come back to where he was from. But Lee County, there's a lot of coal mining, there's farming, but there's not a lot of industry. So kind of the nearest bigger city was Kingsport, right over the line in Virginia. So he ended up helping to open Indian Path Hospital over in Kingsport.
Wow.
Yep, many years ago. And back then, that was when doctors, would barter. People would bring him chickens, and he was really, really loved in Kingsport because he was one of the old-timey doctors that, would just take trade. That was back before insurance companies ended up getting in the middle of all that.
Right.
So that's kind of how I came, to being raised in Kingsport. My mom was raised there. My dad was raised there. And it was a pretty cool place.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like you are exactly like like the cowboy hat and all that. That's like, that's real. Like that, you grew up that way.
Yes.
You're still farming, like you're still doing, you got the horses and everything like that. I think the big problem, and you get a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
And
I do.
It's because in this day and age, there's just a lot of information, and people aren't really paying attention. They make quick judgment calls, and they don't know you. So I'm glad. Like this is one of these things that this show I want to provide.
Yeah.
Is you coming on here, people watching, people getting to know that you're like this genuine, like passionate, competitive, like everything. You're really a genuine person.
Yeah.
And
I say what I think.
Yeah.
Which is kind of contrary to what most political people do.
Yeah.
So even getting into the political arena, it's going to be really interesting if I get chewed up and spit out, or if the people really get behind me. At this point in time, the people are really getting behind me because I'm going to be their voice.
Right.
And I'm a voice for the rural country people of southwestern Virginia.
Yeah. I believe that.
Yes.
I just feel that in my heart.
Yes.
Like that
well,
is
it's true.
Yeah, yeah.
It's who I am.
So let's just rewind on like the motivation of it all. Like let's just start there.
Go back.
Let's go back to the like the Fox show and like
I've got to go beyond that.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we first opened Due South like 15 years ago, we get a letter from the town of Christiansburg. We had a tattoo artist paint pictures of pigs on our windows. Have I told you this story?
No.
So we have a female pig and we have a male pig. And the male pig's wearing overalls and the female has a little shirt on that's tied. And we get a letter saying that the female pig's breasts are too big. This is a true story.
Wow.
True story. She needed a breast reduction. So we had a tattoo artist actually paint those. So she was a little well endowed. So we had to have him come back and redo her figure. So back then, I was young. I was in my 20s. I was like, man, the government can decide the size of your pig's boobs. Is this really a thing?
Right.
Government now does that. So that was kind of the first instance that I recall that I got really irritated, and we had to spend money. So we had paid the guy $500 to paint the windows, and you're always on you're pinching pennies when you're a business owner.
Sure.
So I think he charged us $80 to repaint her, but I was mad about it, and it still stays in the back of my brain of everything, and so that was one instance. And then, code enforcement came around, and they told us our open sign was flashing too many. It wasn't holding 4 seconds. And so I get another memo, a nasty gram from the town of Christiansburg that, the open sign has to hold the flash for 4 seconds. And I'm like, we're in America, right? Okay, so that made me mad. So then there was just, it just kept going on. It was... we put in another sign at the road, a marquee sign, kind of like the arrow sign.
Right.
And then I got a nasty gram that it has the appearance of being a VDOT sign, and those lights can't flash because people are going to think that's an exit ramp or something to go into our parking lot. I have no idea. So those things, got me a little hostile. And then along came the town, and Montgomery County decided to change their sign ordinances. That was before the noise ordinance.
Right.
So the sign ordinances, they were going to not allow you to use the inside of your window space. Do you recall any of that?
No, I don't.
Oh, yeah. They weren't going to let you use the interior of your window space. They were deciding that they're only going to let you use 20% of the interior of your windows. Yeah.
Wow.
So I went and fought that. I got into it with Chris Tuck over that. Him and I sent, some nasty grams back and forth. So... Then came the Starlight movie theater noise ordinance, which we ended up getting in trouble for because we have Fatback Soul Shack, and we were doing live music on our stage, and I guess they determined that it was too loud or whatever, and we ended up getting all the musicians fired up. But we probably brought out 1,000 people to one of those meetings and really got the community energized because government is stripping us of our rights.
Yes.
And in the case of the Starlight movie theater and the noise ordinance, we fell under the code. And, we've all given up rights when there's zoning. You allow it, you're buying property in a city or a town. You're cool with zoning. If you go into a city or town, you understand there's zoning. So we had already, when we bought those properties, we were like, we understand there's zoning. But we had the right. Businesses were exempt in the course of doing their business. So a place like Hubble, they have generators. They're going to make a certain amount of noise. So that right was taken away. So the Starlight movie theater, that's how the Starlight became non-compliant, was the town decided to change their noise ordinance restriction, and they did away with the business exemption. And then all of a sudden, none of us complied. So then it went to using decibel meters and...
I remember that.
This whole nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we fought that for 2 years. So those things kind of spurred me to get a little bit angrier each time, to see a little more of our rights get stripped away.
Yeah.
And then, there's other little things like grant money that flows into the area, some of it's good, but I look at grant money, going back to my family having a tobacco farm. The government went after the tobacco industry. Mm-hmm. And they did because they thought they were doing good, because it does make people sick. People do get lung cancer. But they use these things to target certain industries, coal, pipeline, tobacco. It'll be probably hemp and marijuana one of these days because they see billions and billions of dollars, and it's a way to go in and grab. It's a money grab. Yeah. And so I watched my family go from growing burley tobacco, and they made really good money on their farmland, to being paid allotments to not grow tobacco. So probably about the time I was in middle school, they started getting paid allotments to start fizzling out the farmers to get them away from growing tobacco. And that was when all those huge lawsuits went on, and tobacco pretty much got just crushed. So I think that in my childhood caused me to really believe in the free market. Yeah. Government intervention, government deciding, and then government getting these money grabs and then redistributing it how they see fit. So like the tobacco industry, or the tobacco money that was grabbed, they've put it into Crooked Road and these government programs, but it's been redistributed. Mm-hmm. So I don't like it. I feel like that's our money. Yeah. We should keep our money, and we should have these choices for how to spend our money. Yeah. So ultimately, that's who I am. That's how I've been raised. That's how my whole entire family thinks for the most part.
There needs to be a clear divide between the family deciding how they want to live their life and the government intervening in their life.
That's right.
And people need to have it is. They're trying to rule you.
They want to rule us, and they're taking. If you really start adding up how much of your money goes to taxation, like when you think about it, and you almost have to be a business person to be faced with it, because most people don't really think about it. Yeah. But if you start looking at what you end up with at the end of the year, and you've paid sales tax, you've paid meals tax, you've paid property tax, you've paid a litter tax, you've paid cigarette tax, you've paid liquor taxes, you've paid gas taxes. When you start really adding up all these taxes, and then if you are in Christiansburg, you're double taxed on your property tax because you pay it to Montgomery County and to Christiansburg. Yeah. One year I tried to get a real snapshot. I think we only keep like 20 to 30% of our labor dollars.
Oh, yeah.
That's... So you labor, you expend calories, you work really, really hard, and then you get this much, and the government gets this much. Yeah. It's not fair. Yeah. And I even think biblically, I'm Christian, even biblically, even Jesus' teachings and in the Bible, even tithing was only 10%. So why is the government taking a penny more than that? Right. So if I land in Richmond, those are going to be some of my arguments for why we need to not only stop raising taxes, but do tax decreases. That's my goal.
And there's surplus in Virginia right now? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Give it back.
Give it back. Let people spend it. Let them decide how they want to spend their money. Yeah. So I'm big free market. That's me all the way. Yeah. And it's from my life experience and, opening businesses.
Yeah. So I want to talk about today's GOP. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about what's your I've got a problem with the establishment. I'm an anti-establishment guy.
Me too.
Yeah. So.
And I'm on a tight leash right now. My campaign managers are probably like biting off their fingernails at the moment watching this. Yeah. They're I'm not supposed to talk about rhinos. Let's see all the different people I'm not supposed to talk about. But they know I stay pretty angry about it. Yeah. Our party has a lot of issues. Yeah. And, we've got to bring younger, new blood, fresh ideas into the party. This old way is not going to work. Yeah. So. And
I'll just say it. I'll say it for you. Because,
sure.
The today's GOP is a losing group. This new wave coming through.
That's right.
knows a winning strategy. In my opinion. And 8 years ago, you told me I was a conservative, I would have laughed at you.
Oh, I know.
Like that was not me.
Yeah.
Me as a fixture of conservative values today, that just comes with age and actually waking up.
That's it. And running your own business.
Yep.
I mean, because you see how money works.
Right.
You know, we're not really taught how money works when we're in school. I think
they just want worker bees.
They do. I don't even think I knew how to write a check when I got out of high school. And I think, you know, you don't even know you've got to have money in the bank account before you write the check.
Yeah, right.
I don't think anyone really, I mean, I'm not faulting the school system. It's not their fault. But, yeah, you do have to learn all of that for sure.
Right on. That's, I mean, again, like, you've got so many things going on. Like, I just commend you for wanting to put yourself in this spot because, like, honestly, this is a tough life. You know, being out in this public and representing these people.
I love it, though.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. We've been at the fair every night this week. And
nice.
I mean, have y'all been to the fair lately?
I have not.
It's a blast. Yeah. It's
and
so much fun.
Talking about the one down in Dublin, right?
In Dublin.
Yeah.
And it's the people, you know, it's the whole New River Valley that goes there. So there's such a sense of community. That's what, every night that I leave, I'm so happy because it's just community. We're still a small area. People all still know each other. You know, like the GOP in Pulaski, those folks have introduced me to like the whole community. Everybody that walks by, they know. Yeah. It's just really nice. It's a real tight-knit community. And I think that's what we miss when you get out, you know, on Facebook. You know, you get this virtual thing takes away that realness. Yeah. So I think we've really got to engage people and get them to start coming to things like the fair and places where they get to know each other personally, one-on-one, you know, making eye contact, you know, really getting to know somebody. But that's been our experience this whole week. It's been great. Lots of people will hug you. And I think last night I called bingo. I called the numbers for bingo. It was fun.
Right.
Lots of fun, and people love bingo.
Yeah. How many people do you think were out there?
Okay, so one of the board of supervisors told me they get 5,000 to 8,000 a night.
Wow.
Yeah, so tons. And even the first night we went on Monday, it was pouring down rain. There were still people on the rides, like getting soaking wet.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool.
That is pretty cool. I'm going to have to go check that out.
It's fun.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's go to... all right, let's just go to this section. We're kind of trying to do something consistent here with all of our guests. And I just want to do, it's like common misconceptions in your field. Okay?
Yeah.
So, number one question here. Opening a restaurant requires years of experience in the restaurant business. Is that a myth or a fact?
It's definitely a myth. Yeah. Anybody can open any type of business. But, you know, ultimately, you've just got to dig in. So we're trying to open a restaurant today in Roanoke, another due south, and I just left my whole new staff who doesn't have a clue. I mean, they're trying really hard. They have no idea, and it's really terrifying that I'm sitting here right now. But it's okay. Right. It'll be fine. We haven't even announced it on Facebook or anywhere, so we're trying to do a slow opening.
Right.
But, you know, you just got to dig in. I mean, you didn't have experience probably selling real estate before you did it.
I just knew I believed in myself.
You believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of what people lack is they'll quit. They'll just give up.
Yeah.
They'll tell themselves, you know, they can't do it. And you just have to dig in. You got to find that gumption, I guess is the word.
And you really got to care.
You got to care.
You got to be passionate about it.
Yes.
I mean, you know.
But I think real entrepreneurs, what I've seen of the ones that are really successful, they also have some amount of competitiveness too. Yeah. I think in sports they were competitive. Whatever they did, they were competitive.
And they're naive.
Yeah, they're just dumb enough.
They're just dumb enough
to not realize how much work it's going to be.
And how risky it is.
Risky, financial. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Number 2, I need to hire a chef to create my recipes and run my kitchen.
Nah, not at all.
Yeah.
No,
so
we've never had a chef. So Jared and I cooked barbecue. We went to Clemson University in South Carolina, and down there everybody ate barbecue like every day of the week. That's just like a staple. Yeah. And there were different barbecue places in each town, and you would go to this one on Monday and this one on Wednesday, and it was all different. But I don't know how, we just sort of self-taught ourselves. We had a friend of ours that owned a barbecue restaurant. He was an older gentleman, and we would eat there a lot. And I think one weekend we borrowed his smoker at our house, and we had a big event at our house. We had a pig picking. And then we started doing it at some of the Clemson games. And he taught us his sauce recipes, and then we just kept playing around with it and creating our own recipes. And so we would kind of daydream about how cool would it be to open a barbecue restaurant.
Right.
But when we were in South Carolina, we both had really good jobs. Jared was a corrugated box designer. We both went to school for engineering. He was a corrugated box designer for International Paper in Spartanburg. And I sold packaging materials. I worked, my company was out of Charlotte, and I worked all of South Carolina, part of North Carolina. I was a traveling salesperson,
Gotcha.
Business to business sales. I would sell packaging materials. I would go in to like an automotive company, and most of those guys are mechanical engineers, and I would take an automotive part that would be going into an assembly plant somewhere else, and they would be stuffing all this packaging in to keep the parts from getting damaged, and we would put them into a thermoform tray. We would end up making it more efficient with their packaging, so we'd save the plant like $3 million in a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would come in, and they would be like, oh, my gosh, she's smart. Like, she just made me look really good to my company.
Right.
Like, she just saved us $3 million.
Right.
So I was doing really good. I had a successful thing going on. But we moved here for Jared to go to VCOM. He had gotten accepted to an allopathic medical school, Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston. But we went to Charleston, and we checked it out, and he had been waitlisted for the following year. Well, my sister was in school here at Virginia Tech, and she had called us and told us that VCOM had just opened a program, and it was an osteopathic program. And we didn't know anything about osteopathic medicine, but we started researching it, and Jared's like, gosh, I think I kind of like the sound of it. It's really interesting. So he put in his application, and they accepted him, like, to come in, like, the next class, like, in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So we went ahead, and my parents were close to here. We already had a son, our son Jack. I don't know, he was probably maybe 4. And so it was just perfect. It was like the stars aligned, and we came up here, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm back home now. Because I'm from the mountains. I'm from, East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia.
Yeah.
It's Appalachia all the way. So we moved back here. We moved to Main Street in Christiansburg. I don't even know where I was going with this. What was the point of all this?
Honestly, I just wanted you to keep going because this is a great New River Valley story.
Yeah.
You transplanted into the area. You fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And you've created business after community group.
Without a chef.
Exactly.
That was the point of the question, right?
Right.
We've never hired a chef. We just kept, working on our recipes. And I had an aunt. My dad had his aunt. I had a great aunt who had run a little restaurant in Johnson City, Tennessee. And they would actually take the ears of corn and cut the corn off the cob every day. And
wow.
They did everything fresh. So Pam Lilly, which is Mildred, her name was Mildred Lilly. Pam's her daughter. Pam gave me some of Mildred's recipes. She made the best pimento cheese, sweet tea, coleslaw. So some of her recipes kind of gravitated over to us too.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That was a great little story there. Like, I love those, like, how we fell in love with this area. Yep. So, like, hey, that question, like, spun off into something great. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
All right. The more expensive to cook from it's more expensive to cook from scratch than using real ingredients. What? It's more expensive to cook from scratch using real ingredients. Okay, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Is that?
Is it more expensive to cook from scratch?
Yeah.
Okay. No, it shouldn't be. It should be a better quality product,
right.
And it should be less expensive. However, depends on how trained your staff is. If you start burning batches of sauce, or, I'm gonna give you all a trade secret here. I'm just gonna divulge this. This is proprietary, but I'm about to give you all the goods. Our macaroni and cheese is not made in-house.
Gotcha.
We buy it already made, and I'll tell you why. For the first 2 years, we would make batches of macaroni and cheese. And if you do not, when you make a huge batch, like, I don't even know, 5 or 10 gallons, if you don't chill the macaroni noodles right after you cook them, they continue to cook at the bottom. And they turn into this gelatinized, like, liquefied, you know what it turns into if you leave it on too long.
Right.
So we were constantly throwing out macaroni and cheese all the time. And finally, one of my I think Dave Simpkins, one of my food suppliers, hey Dave, if you're out there watching, I know you are. He finally was like, Marie, just try some of what we have. He's like, try this brand and this brand and this brand. And I'm like, no, we're not doing anything that we're not making ourselves. He's like, just try it. So he brought it in, and we did a sampling with all the staff. And they're like, man, this one's better than what we make. So we decided, you know, let's put it on the menu. And then people were like, oh, my gosh, this is the best macaroni. And they started actually saying we were getting compliments on it versus what we were serving.
Right.
So there's a couple of items that we have gravitated towards that, but it is more expensive to buy it already ready to go.
Right. But less labor hours.
Exactly.
Less prep, less waste.
And waste is your killer.
Yeah.
You know, if you burn, you know, batches of anything. And at Due South, we batch cook. So we load up the smokers. You know, on any given night, we may have 3 smokers filled with meat, you know, which is thousands of pounds of meat. If you start burning stuff, you burn, you know, a lot of food.
Yeah.
So that can get very pricey.
Yeah, that cuts into the bottom line for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have really trained staff.
How important is location? Location is everything.
Yeah.
Or is the product?
Probably not for my industry so much. So my thought, even with us buying this on Melrose, which is where we're opening on Melrose, we got a good deal on the building. So our pricing's going to be able to be good because our overhead's low. And, you know, we're going to make it a destination. So, you know, you're going to find good barbecue in a working class neighborhood. Yeah. And that's how it goes anywhere, really, even in South Carolina. You know, the good barbecue was in the working class neighborhood.
Right on.
So it's not in a strip mall. It's not at the mall.
Right.
You know, you got to go find it.
Right. It's not in this big, like, commercial space. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Not the real deal.
Right.
Yep.
I like it. All right. Once I get my certificate of occupancy, I should be able to open the following week.
Is that a misconception that people think?
I guess they think that they can just get things open quickly.
Now I'm one that I do try to open pretty quick. I mean I'm the type person, if I get the certificate of occupancy, I'm gonna try to open tomorrow.
Yeah.
So because I challenge myself to make sure stuff cash flows constantly. So I'm just extremely driven in that capacity.
Because you're going to have expenses out, so you want to try to get that revenue in immediately.
Matter of fact, I'm usually mad at the government because they haven't given me my certificate of occupancy fast enough.
Gotcha.
And that's something I want to fix in Richmond, by the way.
Yes.
You know, there's all of these ordinances and codes have been written to where the government can just take their sweet time giving you a permit. And it's written with this very subjective language like, we'll issue it to you promptly.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean?
Too much gray.
To me, promptly is like if I'm going to tell you you're going to get your food promptly, we're handing it to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Like it's on the way.
It's on the way.
Yeah.
Like it's coming your way.
Yeah.
You know, they promptly, to many people in government,
is whenever they feel like it.
Yeah, and it may be 7 business days. It may be 37 business days.
Yeah,
like
who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
So a lot of this language, you know, I hope I get on the towns and counties committee. That's really the committee I'm angling for.
Yeah.
If I win, of course, I got to win first. Yeah. But, you know, I'd like to clean up a lot of that language to make sure that, you know, the bureaucracy gets it done for the citizens.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the citizens that are feeling, you know, the burn.
Yeah.
So we've got to help them.
For sure.
Yep.
Running for office is so expensive that only the rich can afford to do so.
Gosh, that's a tough one. So I'm coming off of a primary. It was a 6-week firehouse primary for the GOP. I actually had to spend $40,000 of my own money.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's sickening.
Yeah.
I think, in all honesty, that does get a lot of people out of the running, and it's not fair. Although there's also human beings out there that can motivate people to donate to their campaigns. So, I don't think it would keep absolutely everybody out. I think someone that's really motivated could definitely get the grassroots folks to contribute. I know the problems. I've been faced with these problems. And at our restaurants, it's like a gossip fest. All these people come there to eat. They tell me, like, you won't believe what they did to me down there, the county building.
Right.
You won't believe, what happened to me. So I've heard everyone's problems for so many years that I just knew I knew that I could take the problems, try to create legislation to fix it, try to clean up ordinances and codes and language. And so anyway, I jumped in the very next day. Could most people come up with $40,000? I would doubt it. I mean, I think that's a ton of money. It's a sickening amount of money.
Yeah.
And I'm still very angry at some of the establishment players who jumped in. The reason I had to spend so much money, I mean, we probably could have run the race for $5,000, but they all lined up behind my opponent, and they all endorsed her day after day after day. And I'm still angry. Until those folks make some contributions, I'm going to stay angry.
Yeah.
So, and I learned a real strong lesson from that. I don't think I'll ever endorse anyone in a primary situation, because if it's in a primary in your own party, let the people decide who they want.
Yeah.
Why would you weigh in? So, let the people decide.
Yeah.
The people need to have their voice heard.
Let the candidates do what they do to get their message out.
That's right.
Let it shake out, and then everybody fall in line.
Why use your power as an already elected official
to try to influence?
Just let the people decide, because the people, they can smell.
They can.
Genuine.
Yeah.
They can.
They can.
So if you let the people decide, you'll get the best candidates. And that's something that I learned that lesson, and I will say it on here, I will never endorse in a primary.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Running for office is too complicated.
No, it's not. But, well, the campaign finance stuff is complicated.
Yeah.
You definitely, if I didn't have an accountant, who's Rebecca Stump.
Shout out.
Is this the camera I'm looking at?
Yeah, that's the camera. And then that one. That's the wide angle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rebecca's great. She handles all of our businesses. If I didn't have her, we wouldn't have had a clue how to fill out all these reports. And I think a lot of politicians end up getting in trouble because they miss filing deadlines, and it's archaic. It's another archaic government situation. The website doesn't work when you need it to work.
Yeah.
Just like every agency, whether it's VEC, DEQ, USDA, FDA, they force you onto their webpage, and then it's down.
Yeah.
Or, it's just, I don't know. I could just go on and on and on.
Yeah. I mean, we do need something a little bit more simple. I mean,
it's got to be simplified.
Yeah.
Because we got to get candidates in office that don't get, just
it needs to be consistent. It needs to be fair, and the people need to decide.
That's it.
They can't have 4 people making a decision on
No.
who's getting the nomination.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that Republican convention for governor was what a fiasco.
Yeah.
Did anybody ever have their brain around how that actually worked?
Right.
I mean, my husband and I, you almost needed it was almost like doing calculus to figure out who actually ended up. So did you try to follow how that worked?
I zoned out.
Yeah.
I just went, however it's going to shake out, I wasn't even capable of going to vote.
So whoever ended up, it was basically like a rank system.
Yeah.
Where whoever fell out, their votes then went to the next person that was number 2 in line. But it was just, I don't know. It's just odd. Like, why couldn't they, in my simple calculations, give it to the person with the most votes? That's all you do.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
That simple.
It doesn't have to be this. And I think, I just got the feeling it had to be so complex so we could figure out how to get the right person.
Yeah. And do they change the rules every time? I mean, seems like it.
It's odd.
Yeah.
It's very odd.
Yeah. And that's why I love the position you'll be in with a victory to question everything.
Oh, and I will.
Yeah.
I'm already, I don't know that any of them, I don't know that I'll be accepted.
Well, let's talk about that. You know, like when you get to Richmond,
I don't care.
When you get to Richmond, like you expect a very hostile
could be
environment.
Definitely with the liberals.
Yeah.
The Republicans, the ones that I've met are kind of like, what's she gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, what she's not, because they want a puppet in these positions. They want somebody that's a known outcome, a known vote.
Yeah.
And while, of course, I'm going to vote conservative because I'm very conservative, when it comes to things like grant funding, things that go against my free market background, that's where we're going to have a major rub.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I don't know the future and how that will play out, but we'll just have to wait and see. Because I'm going to hold my ground.
I can't wait till you stand up on the floor and start speaking.
Oh yeah.
Speaking out.
Oh yeah.
You know, for the 7th district.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I can't wait.
Yeah.
And I feel like we just haven't had a voice. I mean, Nick's good. He's a nice fella. I don't mean that. I just mean Southwest Virginia as a whole. We just don't have a voice. It's kind of like Nova kind of looks down their nose at us. You know, they just, you know, I think we're looked at as kind of hillbillies.
Yeah.
We're country hillbillies. You know,
wait until they feel the heat coming off you with your passion and what you're going to say.
Definitely.
And the energy you're going to bring for us. And not only that, like, I just feel like you're going to be a darling of the new wave.
Hope so.
I think you are. I mean, you know, Marie March, I mean, you have like one of the best political names in the history of Virginia politics.
Probably.
I mean, you do. Like you do. You are like
a play on words.
You start to move the establishment around. Let's just not say out. Let's just say around.
Yeah.
And you tell them how it needs to be. And
well, they haven't had strong females in the Republican Party either.
Correct.
A lot of the females are very complacent. They're kind of the Stepford wife, like, you know, they nod their head and they go along. Yeah. And, you know, I'm not that person. Yeah.
I appreciate your take charge attitude and like, hey, this is what I want.
Yes.
And this is the path to what I want.
Yeah.
And that's what we should do.
And honestly, even in the General Assembly and in the Senate, I don't know that there's that many small business owners and business creators.
It's packed full of lawyers.
It's lawyers.
Yeah.
It's lawyers. So they know the law. They know how to, you know, be political in the judicial system.
They know power.
They know power.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. But small business owners, we're not represented up there.
Correct.
So, and we understand economics.
Yeah.
And that's something that very few people have their brain around. And really, nobody has their brain around free market because they haven't lived, really, we haven't been in a society that's totally free market in many, many years. Yeah. So getting back to that could change the game big time. It would, the economy would boom if we were total free market.
The ideal scenario for me is that you get up there, you get major influence quickly, and they're going to want your direction and let you lead. That's what my hope is.
Yeah. I hope.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, and a lot of people, the rumor about me is, well, she just doesn't get along with people. I mean, I've got like 60 employees, so obviously I get along with at least 60 people.
Right.
You know, so I do get along. I don't get along well with government.
Yeah.
So, you know,
the anti-authority.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, and like even in the Bible, like David and Goliath is my favorite story.
Right.
Because it's the underdog.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us are underdogs.
Yes.
You know, the Sportsman, what a great example right now. The Sportsman, they are on the Montgomery County, Pulaski County line. They're actually in Montgomery County. For years and years, they are getting these like nasty grams from Montgomery County. It's going on even right now, saying that they can't have a farmer's market. They can't build a deck because they're too close to the river. There's elevation studies and water studies that this guy's paid to have done to prove. He wants to do all these improvements to his building, and he's not being allowed to do it.
Wow.
And I think he has an RV campground on the river. I think one RV is too close to the river, and so they want to like get rid of this spot, which costs him money.
Yeah.
You know, like he's renting those spots. He's barely cash flowing that place, and they want to get rid of this, and they made him put in a fence. Okay, this is hilarious. He had to put in a gate to nothing. It's just a gate that opens and closes with like nothing. It was, I have no idea. I don't know how it came about. It's a big long story. It's insanity.
You know what? We need to get him on to talk about it.
He needs to come on and tell you guys his story.
Yes.
He really does, because it's very convoluted and it goes on for many years. And it may be to the point it's so hard to understand it all that no one knows what to do with it. But it's a disaster, and he needs to be. They've decided he's non-conforming. They've given him all, you know, he's got to close this site down and do this and do that, and he can't build his deck. And the deck, he wanted to put in another door. He can't make any improvements to his property.
Because Montgomery County is holding him back?
They're holding him hostage right now.
Wow.
And I've made some calls to several people. I can't even get a meeting with Bree, who's over the planning department. I've tried to set up a meeting for the last 3 weeks, and here's a candidate who could win, you know, good chances, and I can't even get a meeting with them. So the bureaucrats are so running the show around here. It's a problem. And I mean, we've got to fix it. And I'm going to try to fix it at the state level, and even locally. You know, once I win, I will do just about anything to fix some of these issues, because they are not working for the people.
Well, we are so happy that you're going to be in our corner.
I'm in it.
Yeah. All right, let's get this behind the photo. We got this little section called Behind the Photo, and we're going to bring this up, and we're going to get you to explain what's going on here and talk about what's going.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So let's get the commentary of like what's going on here.
He's going to lose his mind.
Who's this?
So this is John Wilburn.
Yep.
He's a good buddy of mine. He's with the VCDL. We were delivering kiosks. Okay. John owns Hokie Real Estate in Blacksburg, and John's another rebel, kind of like myself.
Right.
Do you remember John's story?
Yeah.
He sued Virginia Tech
for Hokie Real Estate
to use the name Hokie, and he won in court.
Yeah.
So when we first opened Due South years ago, he was in the papers, and he came in, and somebody introduced him, said, "You know who this guy is? He's the guy that sued Virginia Tech." And I'm like, "Whoa, you did?" I'm like, "So what happened? Did you know, are you now like bankrupt?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "I won." So I was very impressed with that. You know, I like Virginia Tech. They're a great organization. But a lot of times they call all the shots.
They do.
You know, and yet again, John's an underdog. He's a nobody like me.
Yeah.
You know, we got good and ticked off, and we decided we're not going to let somebody run all over us.
Right.
And so John sued him and won. And so he's become a friend of mine ever since. We really bonded. I bond with people that are rebels.
Right.
All the way. So that day, John helped us to found, there's several of us that founded NRV Homegrown.
Yes.
And he's one of the founding members. And so through John's travels, he knew somebody, all those kiosks, the birdhouses with the real estate magazines, that whole thing went defunct a few years ago.
Right.
People quit getting print magazines. They quit doing all that.
Yeah.
So there was a fella that had like 400 of them. And John negotiated this deal. This guy gave us like all these things for free.
Wow.
Didn't cost us anything. We repainted them. We branded them. We branded our program. And our magazine cash flows too. We sell advertising into the magazine.
Yeah.
And so the whole point of it is to have a Go Local card.
Yeah.
And that card, we're just now getting it into the school systems, but it sells for $20, and it gives you access to over 370 small, locally owned, independent businesses with discounts.
Yeah.
So that card, literally, it's worth its weight in gold. Like, you know, I know we have a friend that bought something at Power Zone, and I think he saved $200 with one purchase with the card. So, you know, you use it at 370 businesses, and you could seriously save some money. But the purpose of the card being sold in the schools is to not only fundraise for the schools, but also, instead of driving more business to the franchises have mass marketing campaigns. So they're on TV, they're on radio, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, the mom and pops, we never have the money to get our name out.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to create this as a way for creating visibility, you know, to all the locally owned mom and pops. So that's kind of how that program came about. And there's about probably 7 or 8 of us behind the scenes with that program. We don't take any money out of the program. It's straight up volunteerism from the business owners.
Yeah.
There's one person, well, actually there's 2 people that are paid. The sales rep, which is Lee Wall, she is paid a commission on all the ads that she sells.
Yeah.
And then we have an inside tech person that does kind of our social media stuff, and she's paid a set amount. And she also designs our magazine. She's a graphics person, and but that's it's very minimal and it's very self-sustaining.
Yeah, we're very interested in that group. I mean, I think, when we had a meeting over with you invited me over to that meeting.
I want you to be a part of it.
Yeah, I would like to be a part of that and to try to figure out how to blow that up and really get thoughtful.
Yes.
Really get the community engaged. Be out in the community with the NRV Homegrown hat on or something like that.
We've got to do a better job branding it. We're just now, as soon as we had the cards ready to go into the schools was when COVID hit.
Yeah.
So the minute that hit, schools shut down. So that was kind of our whole plan, was to base it on the kids selling the cards for their football programs.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those programs, those cards, they're like national organizations that are selling those programs. None of them are locally run.
Right.
So we want to replace those, get it local, get it all driven to the locals.
Those world finest chocolates or whatever those fundraising things
popcorn.
are. Yeah, popcorn. Yeah, exactly.
But it's all, it's national programs, franchise programs. This is real, this is local.
So just tell us what motivated you, what kind of got you, because you're the founder of that, right? You helped bring that together, right?
So it's several of us. John, Stacy Martin, Mike Donnelly's my neighbor. We just kept talking about how, in this area, people think that shopping at Walmart, they're shopping locally because it's their local Walmart.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of create also kind of an educational system. We want to get into the schools too to start teaching the kids Walmart is a global company. Yeah. They're headquartered in Arkansas. They're headquartered in the United States, but 99% of their products come from China. Yeah. Anything that we can do to where products are manufactured in the United States, bring it all back here. That's our goal. So hopefully through the program we can start to educate people about, number one, what is local? Yeah. What does that mean?
Right.
Just because a multinational corporation sets up shop, Mission Barbecue, they just came to town.
Yeah.
They're owned by Under Armour.
Yeah.
They're also, let's see, the CEO of Under Armour and the CEO of Outback got together and they concocted the perfect business model for barbecue. Well, I don't think it's perfect because real barbecue comes from a hole in the wall, not from a franchise in a strip mall.
Yeah.
But they've got the look. They've got the right smell. They've got all these things that they've, done, but do people can they not smell genuine? Can they not smell authentic?
Right.
And so if we don't save authenticity and, save our small mom and pops, plus it keeps the money here.
Yeah.
These companies, people will argue. I've seen those arguments on Facebook. Well, they're still investing in our community. They're hiring people, Yes, but all the profits get wiped out and taken up to the mothership, wherever that mothership is.
Wall Street.
Yeah, exactly.
To the shareholders.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, this actually goes into you, so you can actually put it back into the local community in the fashion of NRV Homegrown or whatever charities. I mean, you got a big. I know you got this section of your heart that cares for these people that come out of prison.
Yeah.
And try to get them rehabilitated and back into society.
That's a big deal to me.
Yeah.
And it's because I've now worked in a restaurant for 14 years. We've hired all these people. I had a dear friend, Frankie Branch, who he had some issues with, in his life with drugs, and he had been in jail, and he ended up dying in a car accident on 114. And Frankie was my right hand for years and years. I loved him. Yeah. But Frankie, he just had a rough life. Yeah. And he was the person that made me absolutely love people coming out of incarceration. Gene Smith, Gene works at Fatbacks. He's another one. They've had a hard upbringing. They've had a hard family life. They get on drugs. They get in with the bad crowd.
Make some mistakes.
They get in trouble. They do something bad. Sometimes it's accidental. They go to jail. They go to prison. They come out. And many times when people come out, they're off the substances. Yeah. So you get you have a window of opportunity that if they stay off those, if they've really decided they're not going to get back on them, and they don't, but the problem is, and you know this, in the judicial system, they come out, they can't get their driver's license, they have no money. How do you get to a job when you don't have a driver's license?
Right.
You're paying restitution, you're paying child support from the last however many years you were in jail. You're so upside down.
You're drowning.
You're drowning.
Yeah.
And I think they feel hopeless.
Yeah.
You know, so that's another thing at the state level. We've got to fix this. They've got to be able to go work. Yeah. Working a job is almost, it's as important as housing and food in my book. Yeah. Because the only way you can provide for yourself is to make money.
The government has to open up the rule book for opportunity.
Got to.
That's it.
Period.
Yeah.
So through that, so I'll tell you the story about, you know, we have a boarding house now, and that came about, let's see here, probably like 10 years ago. I started volunteering at the Salvation Army soup kitchen. And down there, you know, folks would come in and get free food Monday, I think it's Monday and Friday, and I got to be friends with all of them. I would just stand around, get to know them, and they're all the sweetest people. And one of the little fellas that would come there, his name was Bobby Nunley. And Bobby was this short little fella. He was probably in his 70s, you know, older man. But he was a veteran, and you knew he wasn't right in the head. You know, he would start telling you these crazy stories, and I think halfway through the story, I think he thought he was actually there, and he would get confused. Right. But he was sweet, and he would walk Roanoke Street all the time, and he would come to Due South. And at that time, we had a bluegrass jam that would go on. I guess this was probably actually more like 7 or 8 years ago. And he would like clog and shuffle and dance with people. And, you know, it was Bobby. Right. You know, we were like, you know, there's Bobby. And we'd give him a meal out of the back kitchen and, you know, and then he'd tootle along his way. And he was a little older fella. Well, one day at the soup kitchen, a lady comes up, one of the volunteers, and she's like, Marie, you know that he's a sex offender, right? I mean, that's pretty horrible. I'm like, but, you know, he's not right in the head. I mean, it's obvious that he's not right. He's living on the streets. I'm like, so, you know, should I be worried? And she's like, yeah, I mean, you should stay away from him. And I'm like, well, I'm probably out of his age bracket. I'm like, I'm not real worried. This guy's like 1.5 feet shorter than me. Like, and not only that, he needs to be taken care of. Like, this guy's roaming the streets, which is another issue with government. You know, people used to be institutionalized. They would have help. They would be taken care of. Bobby didn't have any of that. Yeah. So I didn't care. I don't care. I do not care. He's a human being. You know, the fella was pitiful. He needed help. He needed love. He needed support. Anyway, he would come and go from Due South. Well, one night, actually, I get a call the next morning. We were at the beach, and Frankie, who worked there, called me and said, Marie, Bobby got hit and killed on Roanoke Street.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. And so I was sick, you know, because here I've got my feet kicked up at the beach. I've got all this money. Yeah. You know, I've made money. My husband's a doctor. You know, poor Bobby had nowhere to stay. He had asked 3 of our girls if he could go home with them that night. Right. Of course, they all said no because, you know, we didn't know what to do with him. Sure. So I'm sitting at the beach, and when I get upset, I get angry. That's like my reaction. If I cry, I'm crying like tears of anger, and I'm going to get somebody. Yeah. So I start calling around from the beach to find out where the homeless shelter is. Where were they? You know, I had to figure out whose fault was this. Right. Was it our fault? Was it their fault? You know, we're going to figure this out, and we're going to fix it. Right. So I start calling around, and I get routed to Carol Johnson at the To Our House program. So Carol Johnson, this was years ago. I get on the phone with her, and I'm like, I'm Marie March, and I own Due South Barbecue, and this little fella, Bobby, you know, he died. You know, where were you guys? What were y'all doing? Y'all are probably living on grants. You know, where's all that money going? How's it getting wasted? You know, I had a real pessimistic view of everything.
And you were holding them to the fire.
I was. And she's like, listen. Yeah. She's like, there's like 2 of us. She's like, there's 2 of us.
Right.
Like, we founded this organization a couple years ago. She's like, we founded it for the same reason over in Blacksburg. Something happened to a guy in Blacksburg, and so it's just these 2 ladies. So I'm like, so I start calming down. I feel kind of guilty because I've lit them up. She remembers this. She's still a friend of mine.
Right.
And she's like, so I start feeling guilty. And I'm like, okay, listen, what can I do to help? And she's like, I'm just going to be honest. We need money. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have like an extra anything to give to y'all. I'm like, why don't we do a fundraiser? And she's like, cool. So I called Carl McNeil, who was a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And Rebecca Stump was one of his main people. And I called Carl and told him, and Carl was a very giving person. Yeah. He would give you the shirt off his back.
Definitely.
And he had the new Bluegrass barn back then. Yeah. And so I said, Carl, can we do a fundraiser? And he's like, yeah, Bluegrass, yeah. You know, he got excited.
Right.
And so we did a fundraiser, and I think we raised them like $10,000. So that was like double their yearly budget.
Wow.
Yes. So then after that, we did it for several years. We named it Shelter Fest, and we did it, I think we did it maybe 3 or 4 years, and I don't know why it went away. We probably need to do it again, probably because they have more funding now, and they didn't need to do it. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I think the 3rd or 4th year, we got Willie Watson from Old Crow Medicine Show at Sinkland Farms. Susan donated her place.
Wow.
So we ended up pulling in some other venues. We need to get it going again. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, so all of those things having happened, and, you know, trying to help a situation over Bobby Nunley, then I began hiring people out of incarceration through the Virginia Cares program. So and not only Virginia Cares, just anybody would just we have people apply in restaurant all the time that are coming out of jail. They're felons, whatever. And I think the worst part, they come to you and they don't even want to tell you.
Yeah.
Like
they're ashamed.
Their heads are hung down. Yeah. You can tell, like, and they're like, listen, you know, I need to tell you, like, this happened, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, it's okay. Yeah. You've
paid your time.
You did your time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not for me to judge. Like, all I'm going to judge is if you get in that kitchen, if you show up on time to work, and you work hard. That's your character to me.
Definitely.
Or if your integrity.
Yeah.
So I've always had a big heart because I feel so sad. People, they feel guilty, they feel bad, and when they come back into the workforce, they can prove themselves again.
And they can prove that they've changed and they've reflected on that time.
Yes.
Like they deserve forgiveness.
They deserve forgiveness from the community, and they want to give back to the community. They want to be accepted by the community. I mean, so I don't know if Gene cares if I talk about him, but Gene's a fellow that works at Fatbacks. He runs Fatbacks. My older son is the GM, but Gene, when Jack's not there, Gene's running the show.
Yeah.
Gene had bought and sold drugs. He had gotten in big trouble.
Yeah.
And he came out, cleaned up his act. He lived at the boarding house the first year. Actually more brief than that, probably only a couple of months.
And now he's a valuable asset to your company.
Not only is he valuable, he's remarried, he's got a new baby, he's clean, he's saving for his 401k. I mean, this guy's like, he is like running the show.
Yeah.
And he is an asset, huge asset.
Awesome.
So then that led us to buying the boarding house property, which I had to go battle with the town yet again.
Right.
They tried to change the ordinances so no one could have a boarding house, and they
tried to scramble around because Marie March is doing something.
Yeah, like what's she gonna do now? What, is she gonna bring in revenue to this town? We can't have that. You know what? She's gonna pay our salaries in the town. We can't have that. But it's turned out really good. Like, we made it. It's cute. You know, the people are. You know, we got a good thing going on down there.
Yeah. It's exciting.
It's exciting, and the boarding house helps keep people. You know, when they go there, we hope they don't get back on drugs. It gives them I think we're one of the cheapest places to live. Yeah. It's $400, includes utilities. And see, Montgomery County is expensive. Yeah. Because all the college kids have raised all the rents.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, just on a rental that I have back behind Sheeler's, in the last 16 months, it went from a $1,450 to an $1,850 rent.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. Oh, we like it. We like it, but I mean that's wild.
That is.
That's wild.
I didn't know it was that expensive. I knew, you know.
Back in Walnut Creek, back in
is
there.
it?
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just know, you know, some of the folks we hire, they can't afford to survive.
Yeah. So having that 400, I mean, if you wake up out of bed, you can typically afford, and you're capable. If you're a capable human being and you wake up, you can afford $400.
That's right.
I mean,
and a job easily pays for that as long, and that's kind of, you know, one of the rules I try to enforce down there is you need a job. If you're going to live here, you don't have to work for me. You can work for anybody, but you better go to work. Yeah. Because I'm not extending, you know, this low income situation to people that are going to lay around and do drugs. Yeah. Not doing it. Yeah. So I think the government needs to do that too.
I think they do.
You know, all these benefits that people are getting, and they're not drug testing for them. You know, they're just handing out our tax dollars.
Yeah. Entitlement to capable. I'm sure there's a big. I mean, it's probably 20% of that is going to capable people.
I would.
You think more?
Would think more.
Yeah.
I think from what I've seen.
I just felt like it was like an 80-20 rule. Like 80% of them probably legit. It's somewhere in that situation. So you think it's more?
I have some views. I don't think my husband will not hardly even put someone on disability. Like he literally, obesity does not qualify as disability in our world because you can lose weight. Yeah. You know, there's things that, and that's part of my life experience too. You know, when I was a kid, the only people on disability were in wheelchairs. They were missing their legs. Yeah. Now, how many able-bodied people do you see with handicap stickers? Yeah. I mean, and I don't mean to be judgmental. I don't mean it like that. I'm sure there's something. Yeah. But I just feel like the citizenry was a lot more just strong-minded.
I think so.
Back then.
I think we're in that time period of very soft.
We are.
Very soft people.
Well, my mom comes home, she's like, yep, Wolfie, our terrier, is now a service animal. And I'm like, what? And she's like, well, everybody else's dogs are service animals, so we filled out the form online. And I'm like, Wolfie is a terrier. What kind of service? She was like, we like to take her. She's petting her. She's like, we like to take her everywhere we go. She's our emotional support animal. I'm like, this is insane. I mean, so now, you know, I mean, I don't care. I don't think it does any harm to have your dog. We let people bring their dogs into our restaurants. I love dogs.
It's a manipulation of an authoritarian idea that pets are a detriment to a place, that nobody's going to take care of them. Yes. So that's a manipulation of some government control or some sort of authority control. Yes. So I'm with that.
I don't care either. I thought it was hilarious, honestly, and I don't see any harm in it. But, you know, even filling out paperwork. I mean, that's the thing, too. Like, we're having to now carry around little cards for this and for that, our emotional support animal. Right. I mean, I really want to take my Australian Shepherd, you know, in with, her name's Dixie, by the way. Yeah. I'll be called a racist because her name's Dixie. But I'd like to take her in with me to session in Richmond, you know. Dixie can wear a T-shirt, whatever bill that we're sponsoring, she can wear the T-shirt. Yeah. You know, but I don't know. I mean, will they let me?
If you have the proper documentation from a doctor, you probably could.
If she's my emotional support animal,
yeah.
I would probably be the first person in Richmond to bring my Australian Shepherd in. I don't know. We'll see. I kind of like it too.
You can. I mean, what's the gun restrictions in the Capitol building up there now?
Oh yeah, they say you can't carry. Yeah.
I would challenge every aspect of that.
I plan to. Yeah. That's a problem. And you know, I'm a girl. Yeah. You know, I'll be. You know, if I win, I'll be staying there. I don't go anywhere not carrying a gun. Yeah. So going in Richmond. Yeah. From there to the next place, like, it's insanity. Yeah.
Especially
there's no way.
A woman of the attention that you're going to have.
I mean, like, I carry. Yeah. I'm going to definitely challenge that because that's scary to me to be in a city such as Richmond. For sure. Not carrying. Yeah. So.
I want as much access to you as I possibly can get.
You can.
Can I get you as like every 25th episode you just come back and
update y'all?
Update us.
If I win, I would love to be on here to tell you what's going on in session because I think people really, really, really need to know what their legislators are doing at all times. That people don't have a clue. Right. I like to talk too, and I don't mind communicating. I don't get nervous about it. Yeah. So maybe it's just more natural.
And I feel like this could be something that would be beneficial to both of us, because you're going to be talking to the people that put you in office.
The community.
Yeah, you're going to be talking to the community.
Yes.
It's going to be.
Yes.
It's going to. I hope we can get the attention that it deserves. I hope that the New River Valley wakes up, and starts to care. I just feel like people don't care sometimes. I just feel like they're not engaged. Yeah. And I hope, with a figure like yourself, with me trying to push this stuff, we can get some attention.
Yeah. You've had issues too with government, haven't you?
I have.
Didn't you get in some sort of a ruckus?
Well, I got into the ruckus with my realtor board.
Oh.
It wasn't the town or anything like that.
I thought it was the town.
I got into, I tried to stand up for somebody that thought he was being discriminated against.
Oh.
I went public with it in a way that was above board, I didn't do anything ethically wrong.
Totally, just being honest, just putting it out there.
And they tried to, because I'm trying to, put my voice out there. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get people to understand what I'm doing and what I'm dealing with in my life, and me being associated with that. Like they tried to impeach me, they
no.
tried to, they tried to pull me off the board.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You got impeached.
Yeah, but I survived.
Trump got impeached.
Yeah, Trump did. So I could hold up the paper and said acquitted. Actually,
acquitted.
I didn't. They couldn't even get to the part where people would vote because of COVID. So a week went by and they just forgot about it.
I think I think probably what you're more dealing with when it comes to human nature, you're this new, young, vivacious, energetic person that's come out of nowhere. You're doing things totally differently from the status quo, and they love a puppet. The establishment loves a puppet. They want to groom you, and then they place you in this, and then they do this, and they tell you how to vote, and you're just not doing that.
That's right. Well, they know that
they have to destroy your credibility.
They know that I'm going to put my views out there, like, unapologetically.
And that's probably caused you. Has it motivated you?
Well, yeah. I mean,
would you be sitting here right now without it?
When they came after me, I was fired up. I was like, this is what I want.
Double down.
Like, they asked me to resign, and I said, nah. I said, nah. Yeah.
So then what happened after that?
Then they went through the steps of trying to get all the association to show up to say that they didn't want me to be a part of the board anymore.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I didn't know all that.
Yeah. And that's what I told you I was going to, like there was a couple other – see, I've had just mix-ups with the authority over my business. Mm-hmm. Pretty much like, they set the ethical standards. They set –
it's like the FDA or the health department. Yeah. That's your agency.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I love the people in this business.
Yeah.
I'm competitive.
Yeah.
I am headstrong. I want to go do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But anybody that's willing to sacrifice and get in here and jump in this fire that's real estate, I actually love them. Mm-hmm. I actually care for them. I actually do all this for them. Mm-hmm. I honestly take on the heat so they don't have to, because I know the pain that I'm dealing with trying to grow in this business, and if I can alleviate their pain, because I know that there's plenty of business up for anybody willing to work for it.
Do you have to have these realtor boards? Like, do you have to pay dues? Do you have to?
You have to.
Well, what if you just don't?
Well, you don't get access to the MLS. You don't get the branding of realtor.
Does somebody own the MLS?
The National Association of Realtors, the local real estate boards, like, they pretty much run the show. I mean, you can be in real estate, and I can do this, but I wouldn't have access to the hub of information.
Is Zillow the MLS?
No.
So they do their own thing?
Yeah.
Can you not just function with Zillow? Mm-hmm. How come?
You just can't. I mean,
has anybody tried?
I mean, there's people out there that do, but they don't do any volume.
Yeah.
Like, to get to this life that you want
to pay it.
You've got to be in part of the fraternity, And that's okay.
And there's nothing coming down the pipeline.
There might be something coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
There's threats to this business left and right.
I wondered.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's trying to disrupt everything.
Yeah.
And we are a very big target.
Yeah.
We haven't been disrupted in a fashion that is like detriment. I mean, you know, people are going to do for sale by owners. People are going to try to do this themselves.
Yeah.
And they're going to come to us when they need high level convenience and service.
Right.
So like I'm going to keep leveling my service and convenience up and my skill sets in negotiations and stuff like that, so I can survive the disruption and get the folks that are only doing 10 deals a year.
I don't see realtors ever going away.
I don't either.
I mean,
I see
yeah.
the lower performing realtors
yeah.
maybe being disrupted to say this isn't really worth it. Like, honey, I need to go find another job because this isn't really cutting it.
Because in my mind, you know, if I'm going to sell something, if anybody's going to sell something, they want the most money they can get.
Yeah.
And a realtor is going to push it to its absolute max so they make their commission.
Agreed.
So, you know, you would have never gotten that price. I mean, you know, even with the commission,
right,
you would have never gotten that price if you've got a savvy realtor.
And not only that, you don't have to handle the emotions of the other side. You got somebody handling your emotions.
That's right.
You got somebody like guiding you through the process, making all the phone calls, pest treatments, home inspections, appraisals, like all the convenience. Like it is, you're paying a little bit for the convenience as well. Mm-hmm. But we do pride ourselves on getting the absolute max. So that's certainly what I'm proud of. Every time I get, you know, the over list price deal, I'm like, I'm super pumped about that.
I mean, so that value, I mean, even in third world countries, there's realtors.
Yeah.
You know, that value is always going to be there.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll go anywhere, but it would be kind of nice if y'all didn't have to get hammered with the dues and the rules, and you know, if y'all could, if there was more flexibility, freedom, free market, free market.
Just let us run this business, and I mean, set some ethical guidelines, make sure the consumer's being protected,
right?
But after that, game on.
That's it.
Yeah,
I agree, totally.
All right, that's episode 4. We're gonna she's gonna be a regular as often as I can get her in here. Let's get her in here.
Enjoyed it. Comment,
like, share, subscribe, all that crazy stuff. You know, follow us on YouTube. Yeah, good stuff. Hey, we got you a gift. We got you a gift.
That's
so it's got the American flag underneath.
Oh my gosh!
So
you guys, that is so sweet.
Yeah. Let me see who it was that actually got us this.
That is so sweet.
Let's see here.
So I'll have to wear this my first day.
That would be amazing.
That is really cute. Can you guys see this?
I got to shout out who made this.
Man, that's awesome.
Bittersweet Canvas. Her name is Maria Schwager.
She made this locally?
She made it locally.
You are kidding me.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so we hope you enjoy that and you'll wear that. And
I would put it on, but I told them earlier, I've been working in the restaurant trying to get this restaurant open. I have no. It's so bad. How's it look?
Good.
Is it okay?
You can see the American flag underneath too, so it's very visible.
Is it all right?
Yeah.
Probably more like a hillbilly than ever. Cute.
I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you for being on.
That's really
I really
sweet.
appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all having me.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah. See you guys later. Thanks for watching.